Assalamualaikum, my name is Syahani Binti Abdul Rahim with the metric number 2010076. I'll be presenting on the novel named Merantau ke Deli, in English known as Wandering to Deli, by the prominent author Hamka. The table of content will consist of introduction, major characters, major issues, Islamic perspective, conclusion, and including the references. I will start off with a short autobiography on Hamka. His full name is Haji Abdul Malik Karim Amrullah, or better known by his pen name Hamka. So he was born on the 17th February 1908 in Indonesia, and he died on the 24th July 1981 when he was at the age of 73 in Indonesia. He also served as the first chief cleric of the Indonesian Ulama Council. He was an ulama, philosopher, writer, lecturer, politician, and also a journalist. He became famous due to the profession as a well-known author and as a contentious public figure. So his popular works that you may find is that Di Bawah Lindungan Kaabah, which is beneath the aegis of the Kaabah, published on 1938. There's also Tenggelamnya Kapal Van der Weyck, The Sinking of the Van der Weyck on 1938, and Tuan Director, Mr. Director, 1939, that will be covered by my other group mates. The synopsis of Merantau ke Deli, or also known as Wandering to Deli, which is a novel by Hamka, is published in 1939. So the story revolves around a young Minangkabau man who travels to Tanah Deli, which is located in one of the states in Indonesia, for work. So this book tells us about a Minangkabau man named Leman and a Javanese girl named Punim, where they met in Delhi when they were both laborers. So both of them are from different tribes, where Leman is from the Minangkabau tribe, famous for the Perpate custom, and Punim is from the Javanese tribe, which is from the Indonesian side of the tribe. So Leman married Punim, and they managed to change their fate. So Punim sacrificed much of her property and soul for her husband, which she was remaining faithful for together from the valley, basically from the poverty and desperation to the highest peak of their life. However, everything changed when the presence of Mariatun showed up. So the marriage of Leman and Punim received great opposition from the people of Leman, who strongly practiced Minangkabau customs and culture. So after the business progressed, Leman planned to return to his hometown, which is in Padang, and Punim wanted to follow him home. So their return was greeted with excitement by Leman's relatives. Punim's good manners and friendliness attracted the hearts of Leman's relatives. However, there are still small voices that question Punim, who are not of the same race as them. So this is considered to be a very big issue because of the custom of courtship that is important to the descendants from the female side in the Minangkabau tribe's custom and traditions. So the man is considered to only be as a wealth seeker and needs to provide wealth and pleasure to the woman and her family. So the conflict started when Leman was influenced by the advice of his family. So he began to forget his promises to Punim to remain faithful until the end of his life. So he basically took the advice of his family to remarry another person from the same tribe with them. So he forgot all of the Punim's sacrifices in helping him advance his business, and in his eyes there was only the face of Mariatun, who was about to be married to him, and in his mind there was this incitement of his relatives about the importance of marrying their own people. So Punim is a faithful woman who always tries to please her husband even after Leman remarries. Although Leman seems to have forgotten her sacrifice, she remained very patient and continues to be loyal to Leman. She even tried to be open by accepting Mariatun as Leman's second wife, even though the heart was obviously hurt, her heart was obviously hurt. But Punim is also described as a woman who is hardworking and capable of earning a living and being independent. At the end of the story, she is also portrayed as a noble and forgiving woman, despite Leman's brutality towards her. So we will touch on the major characteristics. There are two major characters in the story, which is Leman, and I'll also explain on Punim's characteristics. So Leman is basically a Minangkabau man who traveled to Tanah Deli for a job. He was easily deceived and influenced by people, and he failed to be reliable as he promised. his first wife after getting married to another woman. So he also failed to be a good family leader. He failed to be fair to two of his wives when the three of them lived together, which is including his second wife, Mariatun. Next, we have Ponim, a Javanese woman that lives in Tanah, Deli, Indonesia. She's a very faithful woman who always tries to please her husband. She was also described to be a patient and selfless woman. She was also a woman who is diligent and hardworking and is considered a noble and also forgiving woman towards the end of the story, as I've mentioned earlier in the summary. And she was also considered a woman who's independent and is capable of earning a living by herself. This was even before she met Leman. She was already considered to be very independent, and she was also capable of earning her own living. And she also portrayed the fact that she could do the same thing even without him after. There are two major issues that can be found in this novel, which is betrayal and also gender stereotypes. As the first major issue is betrayal, it can be seen in three different perspectives. And the very first perspective is that Punim was betrayed by her husband. So Punim and Leman's marriage is an example of a gendered hierarchy. So Punim was happily focusing on her husband's need and houseworks even though he did not treat her well after getting married to his second wife, Mariatun. He also confirmed the words of the villagers. Leman believes that remarrying is not a sin, although Leman has promised to be faithful with Punim until the end of his life. And the second perspective can be seen through the betrayal of village people. So the bad behavior of village people in the past, the villagers did not see Leman as a Minangkabau man or as a part of their tribe when he was poor. However, when Leman returned to the village after working in Indonesia for months and after he was rich with a pile of wealth, they praised and incited Leman to marry again with a girl from their tribe, disregarding Punim's feelings and concerning this heavy issue. The villagers think that marrying from their own tribe is better than marrying someone out of their own, as they consider their customs and traditions are of higher standards. And the third perspective can be seen through Mariatun, when Mariatun betrayed Punim. So Mariatun is portrayed as a self-centered person. She's not very good at cooking and only knows how to use her husband's money, and in which in this case is Leman's money. She's good at pretending in front of Leman to ask for mercy. When an argument was raised between her and Punim, it caused a huge commotion, and as a result of that, Punim was divorced with Talak 3. Moving on to the second major issue, which is the gender stereotypes. The first one is on the man, which is in this case is Leman, was considered the head of the household in all things, and the woman as the housewife, because the woman was trained to look after their husband, children, and their houses. So the next one would be on Punim breaking the stereotypes, where she is portrayed to be capable of earning money with her own business and being independent without her husband. And the third one would be on that a woman that possesses the traits of patient, loving, and emotional is considered more feminine, and it is well portrayed by Punim as she has all the traits mentioned above. Next, the Islamic perspectives that can be related to this novel is on where Islam recognizes the value of companionship and advocates marriage as the foundation for families and channeling the fulfillment of a base need. So marriage is highly valued and regarded as being half of one's faith, and is also according to a saying of our own Prophet Muhammad SAW. So the fact that Islam encourages polygamy, though conditionally, cannot be denied, but the condition is very clear. So polygamy should be practiced by men who can manage it successfully and demonstrate an uncompromising certainty that they would treat their wives equally. In Surah verse 4129, the condition cannot be fulfilled. At least absolutely, Islam is fully aware of that. So hence, a second thought on this part of the Quran suggests that Islam does not recommend polygamy as an excuse for marital disavowal. So nonetheless, polygamy is still practiced almost in all Muslim societies, with a greater incidence in the Middle East. So where polygamy is taken as an Islamic act that protects Muslim women from posterity and low moral values. For them, the advantages of polygamy far outweighs the disadvantages. Indeed, the proponents of polygamy claim that it practices favor for women more than a man, as it protects them from social degradation and low moral values. So the Quranic verses on polygamy actually says each man may marry 2 or 3 or 4, but do not exceed this. But if you fear you will not be equitable towards them in terms of their expenses and individual share, then marry only one or restrict yourself, which is in Surah An-Nisa. And the Quran does not grant men the unlimited right to have multiple wives. Polygamy is a duty that guarantees social justice for orphans, and it is not a right. Famous quotes in the novel inserted by Hamka can be taken as a lesson. So I found 3 different quotes that I find interesting. So the very first quote says that follow your heart, people only know how to talk. In the future, it is not them who will be in charge of fate, but us. They do not think about the consequences, only know how to slide us into the valley of difficulties. This was told as an advice to Laman when he sought for advice about remarrying another person. So the second quote I found interesting is that no matter who that particular woman, no matter how good looking or unattractive she is, the man's ability to hold in his promises and nothing else. If you are good at nurturing, you will have a faithful wife, even if she's not from the same tribe or you consider as your person, which is mentioned in page 28. And then there's a third quote which I find very interesting, is that when a man is weak in taking the skills for his own interest the first time, that weakness will be brought continuously till the end, which is mentioned in page 148 in the novel inserted by Hamka. So what I would like to say is that these quotes are something to consider and ponder as a reader. The novel, I would say, is a timeless work, as the issues raised in this novel, such as the issue of marrying outside of one's tribe, polygamy, and gender stereotypes, are common issues up to this current era as we are in. So therefore, we must learn how to make things better in order to live a peaceful and harmonious life with the blessings of Allah in the right manner. To conclude this presentation, although this novel was written in the 1930s, I think the story is still relevant in terms of married couples' lives. So marriage in Islam confers duties on each of the couple. So some of these duties are reciprocal while some are complementary. So when there is injustice in a marriage where only one party is willing to sacrifice, there will be problems and eventually lead to divorce. So in the story, the author wants to convey that life is a test, and Punim managed to present it as a character who is so resilient in the face of repeated misfortunes in her life. So understanding and a tolerant attitude are very necessary for navigating the arc of marriage, not to mention those who practice polygamy. In addition, the head of the family, which is the husband, must be wise in dealing with the wife's anger so that there is no sense of exclusion or injustice among the wives. Through this novel as well, readers will be exposed to Minangkabau customs that prioritize women to some extent. The reader will understand the culture of the Minangkabau people at that time. Islam divides roles between a man and his wife. It also makes the role complementary in many cases. The right of a party confers an obligation on the other and vice versa. So this shows how far Islam respects women in the community of mankind and makes their impact a must be felt in the society. Men are not given the absolute power in their home. Women also enjoy some power that can check that of the men, in spite of the appellation given to men by Allah, Qawaman, that is the poles. This is epitomized in the life of the Prophet himself with his wives. Generally, marriage has purposes in life. However, in Islam, its purpose is more than mere acquisitions of worldly gains. Islam considers it as a part of one's religious duty that must be fulfilled to attain maximum piety. So many of us are ignorant of the basic issues guiding a successful marriage in Islam, and we commit a lot of mistakes which will lead to the end of the marriage. Maybe at its early age, all young men and women should be encouraged themselves to learn and digest to know all the rights of the both parties and consider it as an act of ibadah instead of looking at it as a way of personal satisfaction. And that will be all from me. Thank you.